to another episode of John's Garage. Today's car is super special. It's a 1954 Chevrolet Bel Air that was built by a good buddy of mine's grandfather. The grandpa died recently and gave it to Davin, and Davin wants me to work on it. When we picked it up in Georgia a couple of weeks ago, it wasn't running very good. And the more we drove it, the more we realized it had a lot of issues. So today we're going to try to solve those issues. But before we dive into the project, do me a favor and hit subscribe on this channel so you don't miss any episodes. Let's see if we can make this thing run better.
That's just gangsta, ain't it? It just got a gangsta look.
How's it running there, boss?
Like it needed to be started.
Gonna let it warm up a little bit?
Yeah, we probably need to move that trailer.
All right, guys, first drive of Grandpa's hot rod. He's a little cold right now.
Oh.
But just for the record, we're not cold, are we, Charlie?
No, super hot.
Oh, so that's a filler blank. Oh, I bet if you pop that off, the knobs are going to be under that.
Talking about right in there?
Yeah, that looks like a filler.
That's called a radio delete plate. Ooh,
Hey.
we got AC.
We got AC, boys.
Oh, we just turned on the air condition. Grandma's out there getting pictures. Look at there. Look at Davin driving it like a beast. He turned the air on.
If it didn't scrape here, we're good.
All right, I'm gonna look. We're gonna go and look at that hood ornament right there. That's where you aim the thing.
Oh, that's so cool the way this back window goes down. It rolls backwards.
Charlie, this car is older than you.
Hell yeah. Right.
What do you think there, Dav? Got a little stumble.
Yeah, needs a little adjustment.
Yeah, a little adjustment. Drives real nice though.
Yeah.
I think she drives real nice.
You're good as long as you keep going the way you're going.
A little detonation. This is a very special episode focused on a very special car. Behind me is a 1954 Chevy Bel Air. This car is owned by a friend of mine named Davin, and he just received it from his grandfather that passed away recently. So it's super special because it's a family heirloom. It was built in the late 90s. It has a 1966 327 Corvette motor, a turbo 350 automatic transmission, and a 1990 Camaro differential. Makes for a great street cruiser, but it's not running that great. We went to Georgia a couple of weeks ago to pick it up. We went to load it on the trailer. It wouldn't run very well. So when we got back here in Louisiana, we decided to drive it a little bit more. And the more we drove it, the more we realized we had an issue. So on today's episode, we're gonna try to troubleshoot and solve the issues with this 54 Bel Air. Okay, so we've dug into the 54 Chevy a little bit. And one thing we figured out real quick is we think the car sat for a while. The fuel these days is really of poor quality. So we know we gotta drain the fuel tank. We're gonna pull the carburetor off and see if it maybe needs to be rebuilt, or maybe it's got trash in it or what have you. Fuel filter get changed. We're gonna change the spark plugs. We're pretty much gonna just tackle anything and everything that would be tune-up related, plus fuel and carburation. So here we go. Let's jump into it, and hopefully by the end of the episode, this baby will be running better. Okay, so one of my concerns was that I'm not sure how long the fuel had sat in the car. the previous owner, we think maybe top it off back in the spring, but with today's fuel, it doesn't last that long. Not sure if he used any Sta-Bil or anything like that as far as a fuel stabilizer. So we're draining it. Also, we noticed while we were under here, well, by the way, pretty cool that the old car had a drain plug for the fuel tank. Boy, that's really convenient. And then we also noticed we got some dirt dauberish kind of stuff going on here that we're going to take care of while we're under here. And you'll also note that we have it safely secured on jack stands while we're doing this. Never get under a car with just a hydraulic jack. So there you go, draining the tank. As you can see, not good. I wanted to show you a video of this fuel out in broad daylight to really show you how quickly fuel degrades. That is a golden yellow. That is not the color that fuel should be. So again, add stabilizer and don't store them too long with fuel. It's really hard on older vehicles. We're still working on the 54 Chevy here at John's Garage, and we decided to look at the inside of the fuel filter, see what it had going on. Check this out. Yikes. That's why you change your fuel filter. All right, so we're on the 54 Bel Air project, and we've run into a stubborn problem, and that is when you put headers on a small block Chevy, the spark plugs can be very difficult to remove. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a spark plug socket and we're going to modify it so that I can actually get that job done. So I'm going to show you how that's done. This is just a regular spark plug socket. Take a look at how we modify it so you can actually get to that tight spot between the spark plug and the header. That was hot. All right, so first step is we've actually cut the end of the spark plug socket off. Take out the little rubber gasket there, don't need it. This actually had a little label on it that actually made a nice mark to where to cut off. You might want to take some tape if you don't have that. Now we're gonna actually take a drill and we're gonna drill out the end of the bit, and I'll show you why here in a minute. Very important step. So. Oh! 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 That hurts. All right, guys, so I don't need these anymore. So here's the idea. The plug is too tight to the header. Can't get it out of there. So by cutting the end of it off, what can happen is let's say this is plugged up inside the head. So this slides over, and you see the tip actually comes through the end of the socket now. And then all you do is take an open end wrench, box end wrench, whatever you can get up in there, and loosen it up. Now, if it's a super tight situation, I've actually had to take and cut the edge out of the top of a couple of them in another application where the headers are really tight. So sometimes you may have to notch it like that. But that's it. Cut off the end, bore out the end of it with the bit. Do not knock yourself in the head like I did. So we're installing the new carb. We had to take the plug out of the back of the old carb. That's the only thing that had to be done to the new one because we're putting a very similar carburetor. There we go. All right. I think the base of the last carb was warped. Could have been just from age, but one thing you want to be careful of is to tighten it down in an X pattern and not tighten one side all the way and then the next, because they can stretch. That may be what have happened in a past experience. Bolts that hold down the carburetor in the old design. Not exactly sure what the difference between an AVS is and okay, so the carburetor is bolted down. Now we start reattaching vacuum lines. This is the vacuum advance line on the high side of the carb, your main vacuum line, middle. And then we have low side of vacuum there. Okay. And now we will start working on kick down cable and throttle connection. Again, one of the advantages of going back with an Edelbrock carb is has the same linkages and whatnot, so you're not having to fab anything up, which is kind of nice. Just in case you're shopping for one of these carburetors, I bought mine at the local O'Reilly's. I found on these hose clamps, I prefer using a driver versus a screwdriver. Electrical connection to the electric choke. I really prefer having an electric choke over a manual. So it looks like everything is reconnected. So we'll see what happens. So, just took it on a test drive. She runs way better. What did we do to get here? A lot. We drained the fuel out of it. We replaced the carburetor after we realized the first one was warped. New plugs, new wires. That's all good too. What do you think really did the most difference? I'd say it was the carburetor and getting the old fuel out of it. So what's the lesson here today? If you're gonna store a car, make sure you drain the fuel totally out of it. It's horrible on components. But really, the way to avoid it is drive them. Put that non-ethanol in there, put the Sta-Bil in there, and have fun with them. Hope you enjoyed this episode of John's Garage. Stay tuned. You never know what we're going to have in here next. We'll see you next time. 54 Chevrolet Bel Air that was recently... Hey, what was that? A street rod that was just inherited by a good buddy of mine named Davin. His grandfather built it in the late 90s. It's a really cool street rod. It's got a 327 Corvette motor in it, automatic transmission, and a modern differential in the rear.
What was wrong with that?
Of a friend of mine that received it from his grandfather and inherited it. That is the old style, but it's where we are now. Okay?
Oh!